Hello, CMan Nation. I hope everyone is ready to enter CMan Sports. Pat and Bill, hope you guys are doing well because we have another awesome show planned today. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's go.
We'll find out.
All right, let's get into it. Pat, you're looking good, as always, my friend. I feel like this is going to be a banner show for you.
No pressure.
No pressure, but I'm feeling it today.
Just be really funny and be awesome the whole time.
Just be you, Pat. Just be you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, I just need to start out, fellas, by saying I'm a little salty today. All right. So let's just get that out on the table. Bengals lost a close one to the Chiefs on Sunday, and it's stuck with me. Yes, technically it was pass interference, so I'm not mad at the refs, but it's still frustrating to just see a game end that way. I enjoyed 3.5 hours watching the game. Thought the Bengals might pull one out, give us some motivation going forward, some momentum. I will say, as sad as that ending was, the Bengals game, it's not even in the top 20 for me. But it did get me thinking, what has been the hardest sports loss for you to overcome as a fan? For me, there have definitely been some Michigan Ohio State games, of course. I would say for that, the 2006 game of the century in Columbus, where Troy Smith beat us, but that was a tough one. But I don't think it's going to be a surprise for you to hear the App State game back in 2007 for me. I'm still not sure I'm over that one. That was my very first game, boys, as a season ticket holder for Michigan. And I thought, you know what? It might be nice to take my 5-year-old daughter to that game. It's her first football game ever in Ann Arbor. Should be nice weather. Should be an easy win. First of all, it was 100 degrees. She was miserable throughout, but she was not as miserable as me and every other Wolverine fan that day. It was a bad day. It was a bad game. And it was a hard one to get over. So, gentlemen, what game kind of holds that same type of gravitas with you? Any ones that just stick
Pat's
with you?
answer.
Bill, let's hear it. What is my answer, Bill?
Your answer is going to be the Vikings game, NFC Championship, when I cannot think of the kicker's name right now. Morton Anderson, right? No, was it Morton Anderson?
Gary Anderson. Morton's cousin.
Dang. That's right.
Yeah.
That was just my guess, Pat.
Well,
sorry
you're exactly right.
You go.
You're exactly right.
Okay. Yep.
That was a tough one. I watched. I mean, that was Randy Moss's rookie year. The hype on the Vikes was so big. Gary Anderson, missed that field goal. I think it was perfect all year.
Weren't they 15-1?
What's that?
Weren't they 15-1?
Yeah.
In the regular season too, and yeah.
They were just rolling. That offense was so good. And rumor is it, I have a coworker who said Gary Anderson was in the club the night before. He had been breaking up with his then wife, girlfriend, got in a huge argument the night before. A lot of the Vikings and Vikings families played tennis at our club. And rumor has it, his wife or girlfriend decided to break up with him the night before. So thanks for nothing, you bitch. The other one that you could probably guess was, do you remember when the Metrodome collapsed and we had to play outside and we got to play Seattle in that really cold game?
I was there.
Oh,
I was there.
Yeah. And
I was there.
He shanked it. Like, what was it? Like a 20-yard Blair Walsh shanks the 20-yard field goal. Like,
I don't think I've ever felt that unsafe leaving a stadium, actually. There were people that were so angry.
We're not bad fans.
That's the thing about people. I was surprised. I actually was surprised that it was that way. And our buddy Jeff Giovinazzo I'd gone to the game with him because he drew the short straw of a group of buddies because it was, what was it, Pat? Minus
so
20
cold.
Or
yeah.
It was so cold. So Jeff draws the short straw and has to take me to the game with these great tickets. But anyway, that one, the fans, and understandably so. I mean, that was just, I think it was a 22-yard field goal or 24-yard, something like that.
How do you miss a 22-yard field goal?
It was an extra point.
I don't know. Yeah, it was an extra point. Old extra point.
You could go, honorable mention was the Favre, I think it was 09. The New
Yeah,
Orleans,
man.
that was a tough one. I mean, it's just heartbreak all the time. So
Yeah. At least I will say though, for Minnesota sports fans, at least you guys have had the Twins, right? I mean, you've won World Series, you've had success. That franchise is awesome. It feels like every year, even with doing it with less at times, some fan bases just never even get that. But yeah, you guys have had a lot of heartbreak.
it's true.
That's right. That's right.
What about you,
Yeah,
Bill?
for me, guys, this one's not going to be, you guys will not be surprised at all to hear my number one, although I have a long list that I could have chose from as well. But Super Bowl 49, Seahawks looking to go back to back, playing the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
They drive all the way down the field in miracle fashion. I don't know if you guys remember the game very well, but Jermaine Kearse makes this juggling, falling catch, gets up, and then runs down inside the 10. And we're just thinking, this is going to happen. And they get down to the 1 yard line and don't hand it to Marshawn Lynch. For some reason, we try to throw a little, just a quick slant route to like our fourth receiver.
Is that
and Ricardo
Malcolm
Lockett.
Butler? Or?
Yeah, Malcolm Butler makes a great read and jumps the route, and it is pass interference, but again, it's just a great play. And he picks it off and the game's over. And I mean, I still, to Eric, just like you were saying, all these years later, I'm not over it. And I don't think I'll ever get over it. They could have been back-to-back Super Bowl champs. All they had to do was hand the ball to beast mode.
Here's the problem with both of ours, Bill, especially. So yours is a Super Bowl. So that will be shown always, forever. Mine is considered probably the biggest upset in the history of modern college football. Until that changes, that will always be shown.
Well, how about as well, I don't know if you guys saw this last weekend, the Seahawks traveled to New England to play, and they did the 10-year anniversary troll of that game.
Yeah.
So they announced it before the game and brought a bunch of the Super Bowl champs out. I mean, you got to give them some props, actually. That's pretty world-class trolling. But, I was happy the Seahawks got the victory at least. But it still will never make me feel better about losing 49. But anyway.
Yeah, no one.
All right, boys. Well, thank you for taking a stroll down memory lane. Painful stroll, I'm sure, for each of us, but appreciate you sharing some of that. Let's move on to headlines and hot takes. We'll start with some headlines from this past weekend's action. A lot of great games. Another Big Ten team loses to an SEC team on their home turf, with Alabama manhandling Wisconsin in Madison. Florida State is 0-3 and looks even worse than their record. Washington, your Huskies, buddy, they lose a heartbreaker in the Apple Cup. Pitt wins a thriller in the backyard brawl. Notre Dame redeems themselves with an absolute thumping of Purdue. Georgia hangs on by a toenail in Lexington. The Ravens and Bengals, early season frontrunners for the AFC playoffs, are both 0-2. And both teams have killed survivor hopes for many. Saints going to the Big D, throttle the Cowboys. Could they be for real? And the Panthers are really, really bad. All right. So what stood out to you, gentlemen? As always, we'll share a couple hot takes. Pat, love to hear from you.
Yeah, I was how easily I was lured into the Notre Dame hate. My ancestors would be ashamed. Irish ancestors. I don't know how I fell for that one. That was terrible. Now a lot of like Jackson Dart. Man, what a freaking sweet name, Jackson Dart, for a quarterback.
Yeah,
but he
awesome.
Looks tough as nails, and he's good. Cam Ward looking good. These teams look awesome early. But going to the pro game, that's where I like to be, is watching a lot of pro football, and Vikes D looked amazing. I lost every over I played this week, by the way. That's fun. And bad too. Like the Dolphins Bills game was like 26-10 at halftime. And then Tua went down and for a point pretty much after that. So that was tough.
How about Pat? How about Sam Darnold? How about Sam Darnold going back against his team that cut him
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, I thought.
I mean, the Vikes game was awesome. I got to watch the whole thing uninterrupted because I was cleaning. I chose clean the kitchen as my chore. So every time we'd get to a commercial break, I'd go off, I'd pause it, clean the kitchen a little bit, come back. So I got to watch that whole thing and knock out a honey-do list item. So that was great. No one bothered me. Got to watch the whole thing. That was fantastic. Those are my takes from the weekend.
Your Vikes looked great, man.
Yeah, they look good.
That was definitely a takeaway from the weekend.
And they beat the Niners.
They did.
Which we love here in Seattle.
Bill, what about you?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. As Pat was talking there, it did bring up this. I don't know if this is actually a hot take, but I'm just going to throw that out there because I think you guys will appreciate this for sure. So I go to my son's soccer game in basically think Seattle proper. It is right in the middle of Seattle, watching the game. I have no Wi-Fi signal on my phone, and I am in the middle of a metropolis and cannot get any connection to be able to watch the Seahawks play or even listen to it on audio. And I can't remember the last time that I had that issue pop up, when normally I'm just watching. I mean, I have NFL Plus and I'll watch the whole game and I can watch Will play, and it's just fantastic. So that sucked because, like Pat, I had the perfect chance to just kill two birds with one stone. It was just going to be awesome. Will's team played great. They won. Couldn't even see a second of the game, but it goes into overtime. And so I did get a chance to listen when we got back in the truck. So but man, no Wi-Fi signal. What a terrible thing in 2024.
Yeah, for me, I like
my hot take.
You know, for these games, I rarely will I like to watch them live because then you got to suffer through the commercials. So you could, I don't know if you do this, but go home after the game and you could watch the whole thing in about an hour. You know.
Yep, I did. Yeah, that's exactly. It's so nice to be able to just fast forward through everything. So you're right. The DVR world, man, it's fantastic. My hot take is off the grid a little bit, I guess, but that is, Eric, you mentioned it earlier. It's the survivor pool carnage in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. I mean, Pat referenced his picks. This week we had Baltimore, Detroit, and Dallas, and then Philly on Monday night. Atlanta finds a way. Kirk Cousins, great drive down the field. Got a chance to watch a lot of that game. So that was my first take. The second one was fantasy, and I mentioned this in the last pod, but the guillotine leagues has been kind of this fun new energy for me around fantasy. Well, I had my first major sweat this week. I mean, we were down in the cut line zone the whole time, and it's because I'm an idiot. So my co-owner Kyle and I didn't get in there, and Thursday I was busy with soccer. So I had a choice to make with Devin Achin from the Dolphins, and I wasn't sure he was going to play, but I knew I wouldn't be able to swap him in or out. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pick up Zach Moss from the Bengals, and I'll put him in there. Well, Achin goes for 29 points. Then over the weekend, I have Malik Neighbors go for almost 30 for the Giants. He's on the bench. And David Montgomery goes for almost 20, and he's on my bench. So it was just idiotic management on my part. But we barely snuck out of the guillotine line. And Kyle and I were celebrating like we just won the Super Bowl. You know, I mean, we're just like, it's week 2 of this stupid guillotine league. So
I'm regretting my decision to not get in that league with you guys this year. You guys nicely invited me and I turned it down. I might have to try and get in next year if there's an opening.
Yeah,
it sounds a lot of fun.
You guys should both think about that one. It's really fun, and we can go to 10 teams. It would work. It would work. So
yeah. All right. So for my first one, I'm going to go with the topic, Bill, that I know is near and dear to your heart because you've talked about it here, and that is the Pac-2. Not only did Washington State win the Apple Cup to go 3-0, but did you guys hear the news about the Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8 possibly sticking around? I love hearing that. I think it's wonderful news, and I hope it comes to fruition. They will likely officially invite San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, and Colorado State from the Mountain West to join. They do need at least 8 teams by 2026 for it to be an official conference again. Stanford and Cal, I heard, are still in the mix, and some other non-quote unquote name schools like UNLV, San Jose State, and a few others I think are being considered. It's not going to be the caliber of the other top 4 main conferences for now, but it certainly could be on par with the AAC, the Sun Belt, the MAC, and it's just so cool to me to see that brand may live on, and I'm really hoping that happens.
Agreed.
I'm going to actually do a twofer for my second one. First, Jamar Chase. Do better, man. I don't know if you guys saw him jawing toward the end of that game, but it drove me insane. I know we still ended up getting points on the scoreboard. We got the field goal. We took the lead, but there's a big difference between 3rd and 20 and 3rd and 5. And had we had 3rd and 5, get a first down is much more likely than get a touchdown. It changes the game. And I love Jamar, love him. Cannot stand how he acted there. And I don't know if you saw Joe Burrow. He was pleading with his buddy to have him shut up and not keep talking. And it was to no avail, unfortunately. So that one just drove me insane. Jamar, you got to do better. You can't do that. And then my second one, or I guess technically my third one, onto the Michigan Wolverines, where Davis Warren, their starting quarterback the first few games, just a great story. He was a 0-star walk-on who battled cancer. This guy earns the starting quarterback job for the defending national champions. What a cool story. However, dude, the offense has just faltered with him behind center, and Michigan is making a change. They are putting in Alex Orji as quarterback, who we thought all offseason might be the starter. He's going to start on Saturday against USC. I'm not sure he's the answer either. Honestly, I don't know that he can pass well enough to lead them to victory. I'd love to see them put in Jack Tuttle, who's I think a 7th-year player that played Indiana under, he was forced out because of your favorite player, Pat, Michael Penix.
Yeah, Penix and Orji.
Penix.
Yeah, sound like a couple of winners there.
So we'll see what happens, but either way, it's the right move to just see what a different quarterback might be able to do for the Michigan offense. So be excited to see what happens on Saturday against the Trojans.
Yeah, big game.
All right, well, let's move on to our Stone Cold Locks, and looky at this, boys. The research guru himself goes 2-1 last week, is currently at 6-2-1 for the season.
Awesome.
Pat hit with the Vikings, the under in the Pitt Bronco game, and he did lose with the Gators getting 4.5. But Pat, way to bring it, buddy.
Yeah, I should stay away from college football altogether and just stick to NFL, but those were locks. I mean, if you're listening to me, you are winning money. You are cashing tickets. That's all I do.
We are winning money. We are cashing. Thank you, Pat. Bill and I, on the other hand,
tough week.
We did not have good weeks. We both went 0-3. Bill lost with the Chiefs at -6, Oregon State plus 16.5, and the under in the Seahawks Pats, which, by the way, you convinced me last week. I loved that bet. It got off to a blistering start, but it almost still covered until the very end. But
it honestly, it should have.
Yeah.
Patriots win 2017, and we get covered by the hook.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So, and for me, I got crushed with my Arizona plus 7.5 pick against K-State, the under in the Southern Miss South Florida game. I think they hit the over by halftime. So that one wasn't good. And then the heartbreaker, the bad beat of the weekend, the Texans had a -6.5. They win by 6. That stupid Bears kicker had to kick a field goal with 2 minutes left. So not good. Pat's 6-2-1 for the season. Bill, you're right at 500, 4-4-1. I'm 4-5. But we're going to get it back this weekend. I'm feeling it. Mr. Guru, Pat Klett, lead us off. What do you have for your first Stone Cold Lock?
Well, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And I am going with the Steelers again. Steelers under until it doesn't hit. Just keep giving it to me. Unless I see a line go under 30, I'm going to keep hitting the Steeler under. It is at 35.5 this week against the Chargers. And I'm all in on those Steelers unders. Let's go.
Yeah, is Justin Fields starting again, Pat? Do you know, or is Russell Wilson like getting back in the mix? I haven't heard, so I'm not sure if it's even known yet. But
I'm not sure, but I would assume that they're just going to stick with what's working.
yeah,
Why mix it up?
I think Justin's still. I think he's starting one more week at least.
yeah, it makes sense. I like that pick, Pat. And like I was talking about last week with the betting mentor from way back in the day, go with the streaks, ride them out. So good luck.
So Wilson's in there. I don't think that'll change my decision.
Yeah. I mean, right, exactly. Yeah, Bierman, for my first one, I'm looking at Thursday Night Football. I just watched the Patriots play the Seahawks last weekend. I just think the Patriots are very average. They have a good defense, but Geno Smith tore them up all game long, and that was with the Seahawks not being able to run the football at all. So I love the Jets at home, Thursday Night Football. Crowd will be pumped. Aaron Rodgers is looking healthy. They're starting to come together a little bit. I think Breece Hall runs the ball, a lot of play action. Rodgers is just moving the ball all over the field like Geno did last week against these guys. Give me the Jets -6.5.
So, Bill, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like we're back because I don't know if you remember, but early in the season, you and I were simpatico. Everything we agreed on, that exact game was one of my stone cold locks. And so I'm going to go with that. I'll choose that as my number one here. I absolutely love it. The Patriots, you're right. They are not a good team. I know they beat the Bengals and they almost beat the Seahawks. They are still bad. I still stand by my season under of 4.5. I really don't think they're going to get over 4.5 wins for the season. I do love their head coach, Jerome Mayo. I think over time he's going to be fine. Jets defense, though they're not statistically dominant yet, they have the potential to be suffocating. I really expect them to clamp down on the Patriots offense. I don't think the Pats are going to be able to score a lot of points. Aaron Rodgers, way past his prime, but man, his playmakers, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and I don't know if you guys saw Braylon Allen, but that guy was a 4th round pick. He's only 20 years old. He looked spectacular. He is a great compliment on that offense. And I love what I'm seeing. The Jets ranked 9th in yards per point. And I just think they're poised for breakout performance. I think they win by double digits in this game.
Me too. Let's go.
All right, Pat, what do you got for number 2?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the NFL all day long here. And again, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Vikes are getting 2.5 points at home. So a home dog again, a noon at home team. They especially versus teams out of the division. It was an interesting statement this week when I was watching the game about how San Francisco was coming over and it was basically like 9 a.m. They're playing a 9 a.m. game. Now, this isn't the same for Houston, but again, you get it. You get inside US Bank Stadium. That place is loud. It's hard to play for visiting teams. It's going to be a go. He got a little quad injury this week, but it's just a bruise. He'll be fine. Texans D is fast and looks strong, but the Vikings D looks so disruptive and can give young CJ Stroud something he hasn't seen before. So give me the points. Give me the 2.5 for the Vikes at home.
Yeah, and again, brilliant minds think alike. I was stunned when I looked through the NFL slate to see the Vikes at home as dogs. I mean, besides maybe the New Orleans Saints, has there been a more impressive team in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season? And I was telling some buddies from Minnesota, it's amazing when you put a guy like Sam Darnold in a good system with a good organization and look what happens, right? You give him the opportunity, surrounded by playmakers like JJ. I love this, Pat. I was stunned that they were not favored in this game. I understand Houston's very good, so obviously that plays in. But Houston didn't look like world beaters this last week either.
And the Bears D is pretty good, so I mean that makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, watching them, it didn't look like they could get running, like they were last season. So yeah.
So unlike you, Pat, I have had much more success early in the season with college football than I have the NFL. So my last 2 games are going to be in the college game, and going to throw a stat out at you guys before I get to my next pick here. So boys, there are 16 teams right now that are 3-0 against the spread in the college football world. And if you want to see the full list, check out my most recent Bierman's Best Bets article on our website, nrcmansports.com. But I will tell you, one of those teams is Arizona State. And I am predicting that train to get derailed this weekend in Lubbock, Texas. Texas Tech is 3-point favorites. They have been strong in Big 12 home openers, going 4-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 5 games. Unsurprisingly, the Red Raiders have an explosive offense. They average 41 points per game, which gets them to be 13th in the nation overall. Yes, Arizona State is undefeated, but they have beat Wyoming, Texas State, and what might be the worst team in the Power 4 conferences, Mississippi State. Texas Tech quarterback, I think his name is pronounced Beren Morton, had a 5-touchdown performance against North Texas. I expect a lot more fireworks this week against a mediocre defense. At home, I like Tech to get a win against the Sun Devils and to cover the 3-point spread.
Not pronounced B-Ren?
Like it.
Red?
I'm not sure. No, it very well could be Beren. I like that pronunciation better.
Yeah. So Bren. His name's Bren.
Beren. All right.
Baron.
All right, what do you got
Baron.
for number 3?
I bet it's Baron.
I think that should be our definitive source on proper pronunciation.
Baron. He's a Baron.
It could be Baron.
Isn't Trump's
That's a
kid
Baron.
Baron? Doesn't Trump have a kid
Yes,
named Baron?
but not spelled that way.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go with B-Ren. I got the Saints laying 1 point versus the Eagles at home. Haven't been super impressed with the Eagles, and if A.J. Brown isn't playing again, that will limit the Eagles' offense. The Saints are scoring at will, and this will likely continue this week. Derek Carr is a veteran and has what it takes to manage this offense. Eagles are struggling stopping the run, so get in on some Kamara props as well. Yeah, I mean, again, it's until you prove me prove me wrong, I'm going to stick with the hot hand. Let's go with the Saints. Trending upwards, Eagles trending downwards. Especially, I mean, they just had to run the ball twice last night. I mean, just 3 yards. You could do the tush push twice, and you run out the clock and you win that game. Dumb decision.
Yeah, bizarre.
Bill, is it just me, or is Pat's logic and reasoning so freaking sound with these games?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I might bet a fortune on all 3 of these games.
I'm thinking we may just give Pat 9 stone cold locks next week.
From now on.
Eric and I just stay silent and then bet. Yeah.
Good idea.
No, I like it. I mean, honestly, is there a bigger surprise in the NFL than the Saints? There can't be, right? In the first 2 weeks.
No, not at all.
What have they've scored 80 points? I mean, Dallas
and Cowboys defense was supposed to be good.
Blown off. Yeah. Bierman, you ready for my third stone cold lock?
Let's do it.
All right. So kind of stick with similar to Pat, I guess. I'm going to try to ride the train here. The Seahawks have so far played Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and this week they get a guy named Skylar Thompson because of the very unfortunate Tua situation. And just real quick, I'm curious your guys' thoughts on Tua. I don't know if you saw the hit, the highlight, the low light, whatever, but I just feel for this kid. I mean, he signs a giant contract, $50 million. The guy just loves playing football. It's been his identity his whole life, and now it feels like he should not be out there on a football field.
No,
I don't know. What are you guys' takes real
When
quick?
he tried to get up, that was hard to watch. Like when he kind of got up a
Yeah,
little bit,
I mean-
you could tell that he was woozy. I mean, he's going to be his brain, that CTE. Got it already.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to watch, I think.
Yeah, I was at the game last year or the year before in Cincinnati when he got a concussion, and it was scary then. It was scary this past weekend. Of course, I want to say, dude, just stop, retire. It's hard. It's easy for us to say that.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
He's a professional athlete. He has the drive. He is motivated by money. He wants to keep playing and make more money if he can. But I hope he is also balancing his own need for long-term safety, because it does scare me, anything with the head.
Yeah.
It didn't look like
exactly.
he took a big shot to the head this week either. I mean, it didn't look like he got crushed. It was like a soft hit.
Yeah, that's the part that worries me more than anything, I guess, in seeing this one, is it's like it didn't look like much. And so anyway, I hope the best for Tua. He seems like a great young man and, super convicted in his faith and his football and everything else. So for me though, getting back to the game, guys, here's one where I think the Seahawks right the ship a little bit on the defensive side of the football. They're playing this guy, Skylar Thompson. You know that Miami's going to come in with the game plan here to run the ball, give Skylar a bunch of short routes to throw to. Geno Smith looked awesome last week. Miami gave up a zillion points to Buffalo. I like the Seahawks -5.5 at home to go to 3-0.
Yeah, I was at first blush. I was surprised to see that line so high. I think it opened at 6.5 actually, and it's come down a little bit. But I typically bet against rookie or inexperienced quarterbacks, and that's what you have with Miami. They have an explosive offense, but if you can't get them the ball, I'm a little nervous. So I like that. I like that pick as well, Bill. All right, I'll wrap things up here with the Missouri Tigers. They got a scare against a very good BC team this past weekend. I don't think they're going to get as anxious this Saturday with Vanderbilt coming to Columbia. I know Vanderbilt surprised everyone with a win in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech a couple weeks ago. They do boast a talented dual threat quarterback. His name is Diego Pavia. He's good. And they are still Vanderbilt. Missouri's defense, they're ranked 11th in the nation. They're going to stifle Vanderbilt's offense. They have their own offense led by a very good quarterback, Brady Cook, who is going to put up enough points to win comfortably and cover the spread. Missouri -20.5. All right, guys, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good this week about our picks, and I'm sniffing another 9-0. So let's do it. All right, we're going to move on to our top 5, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I love all of our top 5s, but Bill, you got me into a fantasy football league a few years ago called the Cosmo Kramer Fantasy League. It's an awesome dynasty league. I love the rules, the way it's structured. But one thing I love about it is, and I know you're not a huge Seinfeld fan, but I know Hale, who started it, I believe, is, and it is all around Seinfeld. Every name in the league has to be a Seinfeld type name. And, it got me thinking a little bit of one of the most classic episodes there, of Festivus, where Frank Costanza says, "I've got problems with all of you, and now you're going to hear about them." And that leads us right into our top 5 for today, gentlemen. We are going to share our pet peeves. I told you at the beginning, I am salty. I am ready to just complain today. So, Pat, lay it on us. What are your not top 2, but your pet peeves number 5 and 4?
Yeah, and I know I'm going to have more as the week goes on. We're on a short week here. This is like we're going early this week. And I'm going to have about 8 or 10 the rest of the week come up, and I'm going to be like, dang it, I knew I should have picked that one. But
I know. Same.
Number 1 for me is assholes in general, especially on the road. People who drive reckless and fast, bumper humpers, guys at the bar that pick fights with the smallest guy in the room, generally me. Guys that treat people in the service industry like shit, in general, drive me crazy. And that would be for sure my number.
That's a good one.
My number 5. 4 is going to be fine print and rules created that would require lawyers to change them. Like example, you get charged a fee. And you didn't use, and the company is too big to talk to anyone in charge, that you can't do anything. It's almost not worth the time to try to get your money back. Those things drive me crazy. So. Fired up. I'm so mad. I'm mad already.
I know.
I am.
Oh, this also can't stand bald-headed men.
I thought of like 3 more. Yeah.
Bald-headed guys.
So annoying.
Yeah.
The worst. The worst. Yeah. I mean, mine's similar to Pat's first one. Really just be nice. Like that. Is it really that hard to be nice? But my 5th one I chose to focus on was driving related. It's kind of a 2-pack. Similar to what Pat was saying there, bumper humpers. I'd never heard that, Pat. I like that. But for me, it's a little bit maybe the opposite. I hope not. But slow drivers in the left lane. Like, look, there's a system. Like, and if you just follow it, right, everything would flow smoothly. But no, Mr. Prius driver, you got to get over in the left lane and you got to go 10 miles under the speed limit when the 70-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. Just move over. Just move over. Let us that are in a hurry get, cruise by. I don't want to be riding your ass. Just scoot over. Let me cruise by. So that was my fifth. The other attachment there, 5B, would be the Mr. Keep Your Blinker On for Miles guy. So I'm throwing this one in there a little bit for my wife, Marcy. This one just absolutely drives her bonkers. So, hey, how about you just flip your blinker off for us? Okay, thanks.
I'm noticing a little theme around driving, and I think that may continue as we get deeper into this list. So
I did
great.
try to go sports and non-sports though. So my number 4, Bierman. So those were my 5s. My number 4 though is poor clock management. Okay,
oh, God, that's a good one.
Shouldn't be that hard. Pete Carroll was a nightmare when it came to clock management and the use of his timeouts. Poor challenges. Throw that into the mix as well. In today's day and age, you should have a guy on the sideline that has AI running, and he's just literally saying, okay, coach, you do not want to do this right now. Do something different. I mean, it should be like clockwork for these guys to have this dialed, and they should know every scenario of every game. We've all seen it as fans, and we're screaming on our couches, don't run the ball or throw the ball out of bounds, right? Or do whatever. It's not hard. Sports is not really that hard. And we mess it up time and time again. Poor clock management, huge pet peeve.
Those are fantastic. So I also did a mix of sports and non-sports, and my first 2 here, 5 and 4, are sports related. My number 5 pet peeve is Urban Meyer.
Yes.
I cannot stand that man. He has always annoyed me, even when he was at Bowling Green and I would watch him coach against my alma mater, the Miami Redhawks. Arrogant. He's just not a good dude. He may be one of the best coaches ever in college football, but he is not a good dude. I have a visceral reaction every time I see him. I cannot watch the pregame shows and the college football shows he's on. Cannot stand that man. Number 4 for me. A little bit similar to what you were talking about, Bill. Dumb penalties by players, especially at the end of games. Roughing the passer, unsportsmanlike conducts, late hits out of bounds, jawing with someone that leads to pushing or hitting the helmet. We see stupid stuff like this almost every week on both the college and pro level, and it just drives me crazy. It costs their team and their fans, and it is because they just don't have enough self-discipline. Drives me crazy. That's my number 4.
You've had a few. You've had a few.
I am fired up, man.
You've had a few of those, and
Mahomes,
wasn't he pushed out of bounds? Like you guys had the game wrapped up, and it was a late hit out of bounds. It's
all we had to do is just
let him run out of bounds, and you got it. But no,
just run out of bounds.
That was tough to watch.
Can't do that. Nope.
Neutral party though. Watching a little bit of that Bengals Chiefs, I just feel like the NFL officials want Kansas City to win. Neutral party.
What a lot of people say. It's what a lot of people say. I don't know if that's true.
Did they get every call at the end of that game? Sure felt like it to me. Sorry, Pat.
All right, my number 3.
Hit us with your next.
I am turning into an old man and my father, but disrespectful youth. You damn kids. Every generation evolves into disapproving adults. I walked into a gas station the other day, and this kid working there is got this rap music uncensored playing really loud, and it's just a local gas station dropping N-word, F-word, and I was having a long day, and my son was with me, so I just turned to him and I'm like, dude, turn this off. This is garbage, and I was like, this is terrible. Like if my son was like 3-4 years younger, I would have been just, now it's not uncommon for him to hear this language, but it just seemed like, what are you doing? So disrespectful youth. I am an old curmudgeon officially. Number 3.
That's a good one.
And number 2.
Are you hit? Okay.
All right, we hitting up 3 and 2, right?
No, I just sorry. That was my bad. I didn't know if you were going with number 2.
Don't you ever interrupt me again, Bill.
Never will happen again. I promise.
Is that one of your pet peeves?
Yeah, Bill interrupted me is definitely number 1. I'm gonna change that real quick. For me, number 2 is political banter. Absolutely nothing makes me more uncomfortable than politics. I don't want to hear your verbal diarrhea rant about a political stance that directly affects your lifestyle. First world problems, entitled view of the world. I do not do politics well. So if you want to talk sports, I'll talk sports all day. Politics, I kind of cringe a little bit. So political conversations, especially like when we're at a party and we're supposed to be having fun and someone's got to chime in and ruin everyone's night. Thanks for nothing.
That's so good.
So
That is a great one.
That is so good. Yeah, that is so good. My number 3, guys, I think I was guilty of this as a kid, and one of my best buddies in the world, John Cottons, out here in Seattle, he used to hate when I would be eating cereal in the morning and I would chomp on the spoon as I was eating the cereal. If your teeth make connection with the spoon, right? It makes that noise. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but it drove him nuts. And he let me know at some point we couldn't be 10 years old yet. So I was young, but he let me know. Well, now what I find is that it drives me crazy as I've gotten older. So for me, my number 3 pet peeve is gross eaters. And, whether it's like chewing with your mouth open or just slurping everything or whatever it is, it's like, just don't do that. Just don't be gross.
That's a good one. My brother growing up, I hated watching him eat cereal. I couldn't eat at the same table as him at breakfast. I'd have to move. It's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, and I mean, I'm a little hypocritical because I was that guy as a young kid, I guess. But yeah, that drives me crazy. My number 2 is speakerphone guy. So if you're in a public place, you're on a train, you're on a bus, you're in a hospital. My wife just had foot surgery last week, and I was sitting there listening to this guy who was like a timeshare salesman go on and on at top volume in the middle of this like waiting room area in a hospital, in a surgery center. What? Step outside, put your AirPods in at least. I don't need to hear your client talking about it. It's just infuriating to me. And it's a little bit of like what Pat said with his. It's like, just be respectful. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody needs to hear your entire conversation. So speakerphone guy in a public place. That's my number 2.
It makes me want to be in the mafia. It makes me want to be in the mafia and have a guy. Like, just know a guy.
Yeah, know a guy. Yeah.
We were at a Delta Sky Club lounge a few months ago, me and my wife, Bill, and that exact same thing. He sat right next to me and then proceeds to talk on a speakerphone. I had to get up and leave. My wife looked at me. She knew I could not sit by him. All right, for me, number 3, it is bad customer service. This is
so good.
Skyrocketed, in my opinion, over the last couple decades. And maybe it's because one of my first jobs was in customer service, but this just really irks me. And I got to tell you a story that just happened. I have been a customer of DirecTV for 24 years. And it started because I wanted the NFL Sunday Ticket, but I've stayed loyal even the last couple of years. I've kept them, even though all my friends are cutting the cord and all that, streaming. And I could not get Big Ten Network this weekend. I turned on the Michigan game, tried to get on it. I called them up, and first of all, they were rude and dismissive, and basically like, well, your package has changed, so you don't get that anymore. And I just had like an explosive epiphany inside of me at that time. And I said, I'm done. And I canceled it on the spot. She tried to talk me out of it. I said, there is nothing you can tell me right now that is going to make me stay a DirecTV customer. So I canceled it. I'm now YouTube TV, and I feel much better. Number 2 for me, we have all seen these people, back on the driving theme, those on the highway who see the merge sign or the lane closing sign miles before, but they wait until the very end. They drive up in the open lane, and then they try to get over.
Eric.
All right, Pat, what is your number 1 pet peeve?
All right, my number 1, and I mean, this is probably should have been number 5, but bad group decisions, especially regarding food and meals on like a weekend. You get together for a weekend and people are making decisions that don't really take a lot of time thinking through the menu. Like, let's just throw some burgers on the grill, and then the burgers are dry. And you're all like, oh, great job. Thanks for bringing the food, Tom. Great, and you got to suffer through as, someone who didn't even put seasoning on the burger. Or, just, take some time. You got the whole weekend. We're just hanging out. Let's make some good food and enjoy what we're eating instead of just throwing a chicken on the grill. I don't know why that's number one. I think what you're seeing here is I felt like I had a solid 4. And then I was like, I need one more. And with this.
No, but you're going to think of, like you said earlier, you're going to think of like 10 more as the week wears on. Oh, I mean, this list was so long for me. I was like, am I really that much of a dick?
Yes. We might just change this segment to top 5 pet peeves. And every week we'll get to complain and vent.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
That's a good call. Yeah, Bierman, you kind of had my number one there just around customer service. I can't get the Big Ten network on Comcast Xfinity out here in Seattle. So quite literally, probably the main reason that I am a cable subscriber is to be able to watch my favorite Huskies and sports teams, and I can't watch them. I even paid for the Big Ten Plus, the app. And now if the game is being carried on Comcast, they block it out. They black it out on Big Ten Plus. So I paid an extra $100. And if the game like Husky soccer was playing Michigan yesterday, I can't watch it on the Big Ten Plus app because it's being carried on Comcast. And so I was, to your point of just like, I'm ready to call them up right now and just cancel everything because it's ridiculous. It's such poor customer service. They don't care about us at all as sports fans and viewers. I'm going to give you a different one though, because you already kind of hit that one and I love that. So the other one for me, sports related, that I had down is prevent defense. Don't go into a prevent defense. This is not hard. You've been shutting this team down the entire 59 minutes of a football game. We don't need to change anything. Oh, let's stop blitzing. Let's go to 7 corners. We'll just let them dink and dunk us right down the field. It makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. Defensive coordinators are paid a lot of money to figure out how to shut the guy down for 58 minutes. And then all of a sudden, let's switch everything. Let's just let him go down the field and we'll just try to make it go slow. It's nonsense. Prevent defense. Number one sports pet peeve.
Yeah, I don't get that one either. The only thing I can think of with that is, and I understand slightly changing maybe a little bit of your coverage because obviously they're going to try and throw deeper passes more consistently. You don't want to get beat deep, but it just feels like they're like, okay, we're okay. I've just given up 20 yards every time. And then, field goal range or,
look at that.
Now we're on the 10-yard line and can actually throw it in. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. For me, I'll stay on the driving theme and you kind of hit on this, Bill. Slow drivers, but honestly, just slow and oblivious people in general. Be aware, people, of others around you. If you're at the grocery store, realize there are others there too that might be trying to walk around you or get something from the shelf where you are slowly meandering around. And with driving, I'm not saying you have to speed, but at least go the speed limit. And for God's sake, get in the right lane on the highway so people who are going faster than you can pass you.
I think you're directing this at me directly.
Move right, Pat.
Slow. I definitely hang in the left lane too long. But now that I work on the roads and I have traffic coming past me constantly, I definitely would advise everyone to just go a little slower and relax,
So when we do this segment next week, Pat Klett will be my number one.
Don't get hit by a car.
All right, boys, that was a lot of fun.
Great category.
All right, boys, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, enjoyed that one. Thank you for bringing it. And we are going to move on to a little bit of a spotlight on one of our pools and a little strategy talk. One of our most popular pools is the NCAA Guts pool. And just a reminder to our listeners, for those of you who may not be familiar with this one, Guts is very similar to NFL Survivor, but it is designed for the college game. You can't pick the same team twice, but there are a couple significant differences. One being that there's a set universe of about 30 to 35 teams that you can choose from. And more importantly, and this is definitely different, is that you get rewarded more for taking smaller favorites than larger ones. So last week you could have took a Tennessee given 49 points, almost assured that they'd win, and they did, but then you'd get 49 points on your ledger. If you took Texas A&M last week, who were only 4.5 point favorites, and they win, which they did, then you have 4.5 points on your ledger. Team with the lowest amount, or player with the lowest amount of points after 12 weeks wins the pool, but you have to be alive. So that's where the strategy comes in, because you got to win, but you want to pick teams that might not be favored by a ton of points to win. So great pool. What do you guys think this coming week? Anything jump out at you as teams to pick or teams to avoid?
You want me to jump in here on this one, Bierman?
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
So, I mean, just a couple, and I think we highlighted these earlier in the pod, but this week, UW, Kansas, Florida State. How about Florida State going to 0-3? I mean, shocking, right? I mean, they were a top 10 team. So, yeah, they're on dartboards everywhere around the country this week, those three schools. For me, on the team, I actually was leaning a little bit harder on the team to avoid this week. So you highlighted the changes at Michigan with quarterback this week. I just really would be nervous about USC going into the Big House as a 5.5 point favorite. I'd steer clear of that game. And honestly, if you want to take a big early season risk, I know a couple people this week in the Apple Cup took the Cougars plus 4.5, big hit there to position them well heading into week 3. But how about Michigan at home, maybe? 5.5 point dog. I like that. Also, a couple of big conference clashes, Utah and Oklahoma State, and Tennessee goes to Norman. And it goes to Norman as a 7-point fave. So you're probably not going to see Tennessee around that point spread much until they get into some of the stiffer SEC foes. But that might be a good chance to steal a Tennessee victory potentially for only 7 points. So those are a couple of my thoughts. How about you?
Those are great. My strategy in this pool in years past has been to do 3 or 4 entries. One, I'm very aggressive. 1 or 2, I'm middle of the road, and where I might pick 8 to 12 point favorites, and then 1 where I'm much more conservative and only pick teams that are favored by 15 or more points. And the middle ones are usually where I've had most success. But as you just said, a lot of those losses last week, Florida State and Kansas, and Washington was lower, but you just never know. And that's what makes this pool so fun and so difficult. My favorite this week is actually an aggressive one, and it's one that I mentioned earlier, so probably not a surprise. I like Texas Tech. Given the 3 at home against Arizona State. I really do think they win. For middle of the road, a little less aggressive, I do like Washington, given 10.5 at home against Northwestern.
I wrote that down.
I think Northwestern's going to cover. I did pick them in one of my best bets with the points, but I like Washington to win. And then for more comfortable picks, but still reasonable, I really like Missouri, as I mentioned also earlier. 2 that I would be nervous about. I would be nervous about Tennessee at Oklahoma. I think they're the better team, but they could lose. And Kansas State at BYU. They're at BYU in Provo. The Wildcats are just such a inconsistent team, and I can see them putting up a clunker.
Yeah. Pat, we got to get you in on this one next year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought Tennessee, as I was looking at the teams, mentioned there's 30 teams you can choose from. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about 40 this year.
Is Minnesota, Iowa?
Is it 40?
Is the Minnesota, Iowa game a possibility there?
Iowa's in there.
Okay.
Minnesota, I believe I took out this year.
Okay.
I don't think they're an option.
Okay.
But Iowa is.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to our final segment of today's show, and that is Nailed It. Bill, I am curious to hear how we did last week.
Yeah, so fun week. Pat got right back in the thick of things. He stayed hot across the board. Yeah, that's right. He doesn't want to be, but he hit a bullseye on one of the questions, and so that got him 2 points. So in week 2, last week, I had 1 point, Eric had 1 point, and Pat had 2 points. And just a reminder, if you didn't listen to last week's Nailed It, we have 2 baseball questions, one about Aaron Judge home runs and one Shohei Ohtani 50-50. Chase, and so we're waiting until the end of the month till we'll be able to score those. Judge didn't have a big week, so Pat stayed in the mix there. He said Judge would hit no home runs the rest of the season and stay with 51. Judge ended up with 2, so he's at 53. Shohei's currently at 47 home runs, 48 stolen bases, so rooting for him to get that 50-50. But yeah, we've got 5 new questions this week. Okay, so the current standings heading into this week have nailed it. The Sandman has 4, Beerman has 3, and Mr. Pat Klett with 2. All right, so let's get into our 5 questions. We kind of mixed it up, but it's kind of cool. You guys hit on a couple of topics here that we will discuss and nailed it earlier in the pod. So we have 2 Monday Night Football games this week.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jacksonville 0-2 versus Buffalo 2-0. The Commanders 1-1 versus Beerman's Cincinnati Bengals
I'll be
at
there.
0-2.
2 day.
Buffalo is favored by 5.5. That over-under is 45.5. Cincinnati is an 8-point favorite, and that over-under is at 48.5. Okay, so the question is the total score of the 2 home teams. Okay, so we're looking for the total score, combined score of Buffalo and Cincinnati. Currently, just a couple of fun facts. Buffalo is averaging 32.5 points per game. Cincinnati is averaging 17.5 points per game. Okay, so the total combined score of the 2 home teams playing on Monday Night Football.
Remind me, who are the Bills playing?
Bills are playing Jacksonville. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, send. All right, Pat Klett, 68 points. Sanders, 50 points. Beerman, 62 points. All right, I need low scoring. That's what I'm looking for. All right, question number 2. Beerman's Miami of Ohio Redhawks traveling to South Bend this week.
I'll be there too.
And you'll be there. See, it was like I knew where you were traveling. The Eric Beerman tracker was out. The Irish are 28-point favorites, Beerman. Okay. Now, my question is not who's going to win or lose, but will the difference in score be 0 to 9 points, 10 to 19 points, 20 to 29 points, 30 to 39 points, or 40 plus points? Okay, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, send. All right, Klett's looking for the blowout. Pat's probably looking for Notre Dame to win by 40 plus. Eric and I both 20 to 29 points. All right. Question number 3. Klett brought him up earlier. One of the greatest names in all of college football, Jackson Dart, starting quarterback for the Fighting Lane Kiffins. He leads Division I football in passing yards with 1,172 yards. He's thrown for 8 touchdowns and 1 pick. Okay. He is 73 for 88 and averaging 13.3 yards per attempt. He's got to be the Heisman leader, I would think, at this point in the season. How many yards does Jackson Dart throw for this Saturday against Georgia Southern? They are 35.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 65.5. Georgia Southern comes into the game 2-1. How many yards does Jackson Dart throw for? 3, 2, 1, send. Okay, I'm looking for him to just go crazy. I have 412, Beerman 381, Pat 303.
They'll get ahead and run it. They're just going to run it.
Nice. That's
Kill the clock.
That's what I think too. I mean, yep, you could, but the guy's throwing for over 400 yards a game at this point. So, all right. So that was question 3. Question 4. Okay, you guys are going to love this. You guys are huge soccer guys. I know you're huge soccer guys. You love the MLS and your local teams. Pat, can you tell me the name of the Minnesota franchise in the MLS?
The Loons, isn't it? The United Loons?
Kind of, yes. Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, so here's the question.
Never watched one game.
MLS. Yeah, this is not, I made this so that you don't have to know soccer or anything to guess. Okay, how many goals will be scored in the 13 MLS matches tomorrow, Wednesday, September 18th? Okay, we're recording this on Tuesday the 17th, so these all happen tomorrow. Okay, If you add the over-unders together of all 13 matches, it's 41.5 goals. Okay, so you're just basically picking a random total goals. The over-unders add up to 41.5. And these probably, I'm guessing, are going to be close. All right, are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, send. Yeah, okay. I knew we'd all be close, and that would make it kind of fun. Sanders, 39 goals. Pat, 42 goals. Bierman is looking for goals galore with 44. Anything over 44 in Bierman's golden. All right. Fifth and last question. We're going to go to the diamond for this one. Fifth and last question is around the Chicago White Sox. They are chasing futility and immortality at 36 and 115 currently.
They just won
They
3
have
in a row.
11 games left. I know. They did. So they're on a 3-game win streak. They have 11 games left. The question is, how many losses will the Chicago White Sox end up with? A couple fun facts. Do you guys realize the losingest team ever in Major League Baseball was the 1962 New York Mets expansion team? They had 120 losses. Here is the schedule for Chicago. They have 2 more at the Angels. They have then 3 at the Padres. They're home for the Angels for 3, and they finish at Detroit for 3. Okay, so they have 11 games left. They're currently at 115 losses. How many losses will they end up with? Are you ready?
Record?
3,
What's
2,
the record?
120. 120 is the Mets, 1962 Mets.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, send. Oh, nice. All right. So Bierman and I both at 122, Pat at 125. I love it. They just lose almost every game from here up. Pat has them losing
All
10
but
of their
one.
last 11 to finish with 125 losses. And boys, that is nailed it. Episode 3. All right. We're also really excited to announce to you all that we are going to be launching reload pools because it has been absolute carnage in all of the survivors. So if you're interested in a reload pool, please email me at bill@sandmanpools.com. Love to give you the information. And if you're on my distribution list already, you'll be hearing about it today. Hopefully you all have better luck. I know that the survivor pools have just been brutal so far. So we're really looking forward to launching those out to you guys this week. They will start this week with a deadline of Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And so if you want to jump into more Sandman Pools action, keep your eyes out for it. Can't wait.
Thank you, Bill. All right, everyone. Well, it is time, sadly, to exit CME Sports. Thank you, Mr. Klett and Mr. Sanders, for another awesome episode. To all our listeners, we are just starting out on this journey as this is only our 5th episode. We are absolutely loving it and plan to continue doing this for a long time, but we could certainly use all of your help. We have a few asks for each of you and would be very grateful if you could take just a couple minutes to do these things. Number 1, please visit our website at entercmansports.com, where we have lots of articles, expert advice, quick hit videos, podcasts, a lot of awesome stuff. While there, subscribe to our weekly insider, where you will get a recap of our weekly content, highlights, and tips. Number 2, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enter Sandman Sports. Once you are on there, please view, interact with, and comment on our videos. We'd love to hear from each of you. Number 3, follow us on Facebook at Enter Sandman Sports, like our page, and interact with us on our posts. Number 4, please follow us on X at _Sandman Sports and share our tweets. Number 5, email us at info@entersandmansports.com if you have suggestions for our show or just general feedback that will help us improve as we move forward. And finally, please share with others. Word of mouth is one of our most powerful methods for attracting more people to our content. If you're enjoying what you are seeing and listening to and reading, please let your friends and family know about us and how to find us. Thank you all. It is a true pleasure to get to do this every week, and we will be back. Peace out, CMA Nation, and have a wonderful week. Take care.
See ya. Good luck.